Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Dog Days Episode 3 with JC Cappers here on June 21st. And we have three things on the agenda for today's episode. First, we'll kind of go over and recap last night's games that we had bets on. And then we'll dive into a preview of the plays we have on today's card. And third, I want to talk about a new segment idea that I'm looking for some help there from other sports bettors. I've gotten great feedback from those of you on Twitter so far, just talking to you last night, and I think this could really take off, but I'm looking for some help. I know some of you were looking forward to me talking more about ROI, about it, more how important it is to betting, but I pushed that back into a later podcast this week as I kind of want to get this project going so I can start this new segment here in about a week or two. Looking at last night's card, we were able to go 2-1 in our three plays for a profit of 1.21 units. And in our first play, we were able to start with a victory right off the bat there as the Pirates were able to get past the Brewers. And in that one, Chad Kuhl picked up his first victory since April, so that's been a while there. And Andrew McCutchen hit his fifth home run in 7 games to put the Pirates past the Brewers 7-3. And the Pirates really wasted no time last night as they put up a major cricket number there in the top of the first, scoring 6 runs off an RBI infield single, and then a 3-run home run by Osuna to go up 6-0 after the first inning. And the Brewers really weren't able to cut it any close really at some point in the game as they tacked on a solo home run in the bottom of the second to make it 6-1. But then the next half inning, McCutchen goes yard and extends the game to 7-1. And then the Brewers were only able really to tack on an RBI double in the bottom of the third, making it a 5-run game, 7-2. And then later in the game, they tacked on another RBI double in the bottom of the sixth to make it 7-3. But really, there was no close scenario in this one. Obviously, they had that 4 or 5, 6-run lead early in the game, so there was plenty of time for the Brewers to come back, but they really weren't able to do that. Luckily for us, so we didn't have to sweat this one out, and allowed us to get off to a great start last night. So after this one, we were 1-0 on the night for a profit of 1.05 units. And in our second game, we head over to that Toronto at Texas series, where for the second straight night, we were on the Rangers as we had Rangers plus 116. And if you remember that first night, the Rangers blew a save there in the top of the ninth to lose. And luckily, this was a much better result for us as we were able to get the victory, as Texas, just like the Pirates, wasted no time as they jumped out to a 4-0 lead there after the first inning, as the Rangers scored on a ground out to shortstop, a home run, and an RBI double there as they led 4-0 after the first inning. And then you fast forward to the fifth inning, the Rangers added a solo home run to make it 5-0, and really the only scoring threat the Blue Jays had was in the top of the seventh, where they scored on an RBI single to make it 5-1. And then in the bottom of the eighth, the Rangers added an insurance run, which really wasn't needed, but we'll definitely take it, on a Beltre solo home run to make it 6-1, which ended up being the final score, as Nick Martinez was great for the Rangers on the mound and for us to help us get the victory, as he lasted 6 1/3 innings, only gave up the 2 hits on that 1 run and struck out 2 batters, and that moved his record to 2-3 on the season, and that bumped us to 2-0 on the night for a profit of 2.21 units. And with 3 plays on the card and being 2-0, this is great because going into that third game, it really doesn't matter what happens for us in that game, as we will have a nice profit already on the night. I mean, if the third game was able to win, we get that sweep, awesome. But again, if we go 2-1, that's still a nice chunk of change there for our profit, since we are doing the underdog system. And in that third game, we head over to that Astros at Athletics series. And again, we are on the Oakland Athletics, as the line here was Athletics, the juice. We had Athletics plus 101. Unfortunately, the Athletics were not able to get it done as the Astros beat them 8-4. That dropped us to 2-1 on the night for a profit of 1.21 units last night. And Houston, just like the Pirates, just like the Rangers, but unfortunately we are not on Houston. But the Houston Astros really jumped out to a quick lead there in the top of the first. George Springer hit a home run, and then they scored on an RBI double, and a single there. So they're up 5-0 after the top of the first, and Chris Davis added a RBI double for the Athletics there in the bottom of the first. That made it a 5-1 game, and then we moved to the third inning. Oakland added another run there off a Pinder solo home run. That made it 5-2, and then in the fourth inning, they scored on a sacrifice fly, the A's did, which made it 5-3. And then there really was no scoring there as we fast forward to the seventh inning where the A's were able to get an RBI single, which made it 5-4. And we're thinking, oh boy, we have a chance here to sweep here as the A's are just slowly nickel and diming themselves back into this game and chipping back. But there in that next half inning, the Astros added an RBI single in the top of the eighth, which scored 2 runs. That made it 7-4, so that was kind of a dagger as the A's weren't able to score in the bottom of the eighth. And then in the top of the ninth, Carlos Beltran hits a home run, gives the Astros bullpen a little more security, which bumped them to the 8th run as the Astros held on for the 8-4 victory over the Athletics. That was our first and only loss on the night, which put us at 2-1 on the night. Profit of 1.21 units, like I said. Now, overall, at the end of June 20th, for this season-wise, I am 183 wins, 173 losses, and 3 pushes. Again, those 3 pushes were from the half-unit first 5 little theory I had going on there for about a week or so because of those blown saves early in June. And for a profit-wise on the season, we were at 33.63 units, and for a season ROI of 8.29%. Again, those 33.63 unit profits are off playing 1 unit bets with this system. And it was a great night for us, and hopefully we can carry that momentum that we built up last night into tonight's games. And in today's card, we do have 5 plays and kind of some good news for you for those of you on the East Coast or even in the Central Time Zone who really aren't a fan of waiting up late for those West Coast night games, because I know I'm not. We do not have any of those on our schedule today, as our first play gets started here in 2 hours with the Reds at Tampa Bay Rays. And the Reds, they'll be starting right-handed pitcher Tim Adelman. And Adelman's got 64 innings pitched on the season with a 4-3 record. And Adelman also has a 4.22 ERA with 54 strikeouts. Now, on the offensive side for the Reds, they're led by Joey Votto, who came into yesterday with 78 hits, 51 runs on 19 home runs, and 52 RBIs. While Zach Cozart, he had 70 hits, 39 runs, and 33 RBIs in that time. Joey Votto smacked his solo home run yesterday, so add that to his home run total there. And Cozart is currently on the DL. Now, over on the Tampa Bay side, they'll give the ball to right-handed pitcher Erasmo Ramirez in today's game. In his 54 innings of work, he's got a 3-2 record this season, and with a 5.17 ERA, and he's also struck out 41 batters. Now for the Tampa Bay offense, they've got some nice hitters this season going for them, as Chris Dickerson has 91 hits with 49 runs and 15 home runs with 34 RBIs. That was heading into yesterday's game, while Tim Beckham has 70 hits, 27 runs, and 31 RBIs with 10 home runs. Dickerson did hit a home run with 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored yesterday, while Beckham has a contusion on his left hand, but he should be okay and ready to go. Now, with these two starting pitchers, as you can see, one of them has got a 5.17 ERA and the other's got a 4.22 ERA, but we could see a lot of runs here in this one as that's over a 9 ERA combined. So we could see a lot of runs in this one, but with this system, we are going to look for the Reds to defeat the Rays here and hopefully get us going in the right direction today as, like I said before, we look to carry off the momentum we built yesterday. And in our second game on today's card, we head to the Boston Red Sox at Kansas City Royals game where we have a play on the Royals at plus 128. And the Red Sox come into today's game looking for some kind of consistency after alternating wins and losses in each of their last 7 games. If you remember, 2 nights ago, we were on the Royals in Game 1 of this series, and the Royals were able to get the W for us 2 nights ago. And last night, we were not on this play, but the Red Sox came away with an 8-3 win over the Royals. So the series is knotted up at 1-1 coming into the third game. Getting the start on the mound this afternoon for the Red Sox will be Drew Pomeranz, and he's got a 6-4 record with a 4.19 ERA, and he's also struck out 77 batters this season. As for his history against the Royals, this will be his first career start, so there's really nothing there to report on. Now for the Royals side, Ian Kennedy will start Game 3, and record-wise, he's been a rough start to the season as he is only 1-6 on the season with a 5.03 ERA and 53 strikeouts. In his career against the Red Sox, Kennedy has notched a 1-1 record with a 5.29 ERA and 23 strikeouts. Again, just want to make a note of this as well if you are listening to the podcast early this morning. That first game is an early start, and this game is also an early start as this game gets started in early afternoon. Just to keep an eye on that so when you make your bets, you get it done in time. Again, we look for the Royals to get a win here, and hopefully we can start 2-0 this afternoon as we head into the nightcap where we will have 3 games. And our third play on today's card, and really the leadoff game for our nightcap schedule, is in the Giants at Braves game as we are on the Braves plus 109. And in last night's contest between the two teams, the Giants snapped a 7-game losing streak with a 6-3 victory over the Atlanta Braves. As for today's game, the Giants are scheduled to send Jeff Samardzija to the mound, and Samardzija comes into today's game coming off his poorest outing of the season in a 10-8 loss at Colorado, where he did give up 8 runs on 11 hits, including 2 home runs in only 6 innings of work. As for the Braves side, the Braves, they're trying to heat up and stay hot, which really they're going to have to be if they do have any hope of catching the Nationals in that NL East division. The Braves saw their 3-game winning streak come to an end last night in that loss. As for today's game, Bartolo Colon was originally going to get the start as he was going to come off the DL from an oblique strain, but apparently late last night they scratched him, and now Sean Newcomb will be getting the start for the Braves. He'll be making his 3rd start this season. His record is 0-2. He's got a 2.19 ERA, and in those 2 outings, he's lasted 12 1/3 innings on the mound, and in those 12 1/3 innings, the Braves offense has scored 0 runs when he's on the mound. So hopefully the Braves offense can score a couple runs for him, and he's able to get his first ever Major League Baseball win, and that will also give us the win for us as well as we look for the Braves to beat the Giants today. Our 4th game on today's card sends us to the Toronto Blue Jays and Texas Rangers series again for the 3rd straight night. And again for the 3rd straight night, we are also on the Texas Rangers again as we have Rangers minus 103 tonight. Again, not much value there at minus 103, but you put all faith in the system and results will come. The Toronto Blue Jays will look for a win tonight as they have split their last 16 games going 8-8 As for today's game, the Blue Jays will give Joe Bigiani a start as he is 1-6 with a 4.26 ERA and 48 strikeouts this season. As for his history against the Rangers, he's got a 1-1 record with a 1.93 ERA and 8 strikeouts in his career against the Rangers. As for the Rangers, they're looking to stay hot after winning 8 of their last 11 games and getting the ball tonight, for the Rangers will be Tyson Ross, and he's 1-0 this season with a 3.18 ERA and only 5 strikeouts this season. Career-wise for Ross against the Blue Jays, he is 0-1 with a 4.32 ERA and 3 strikeouts. Again, we will be on the Rangers minus 103 in this game as well. And we head over to our 5th game and final game on today's card. And that's going to be the Pirates at Brewers game. And the play here we have in this game is Pirates plus 115 again. And the Pirates, they've shown signs that they're ready to get back in the NL Central race, but consistency has been an issue. But the Pirates have looked good in consecutive victories after a 7-3 win over the Brewers last night. On the mound today for Pittsburgh will be Trevor Williams, and he comes off back-to-back no decisions after a 9-5 loss at the Cubs with 3 runs allowed on 4 hits, and he did walk 2 batters in 5 frames. So hopefully he can get that win decision today and the Pirates can stay hot. As for the Brewers, they're still clinging to that NL Central lead, but their lead is slim and there's not really much wiggle room there as they've gone in the wrong direction with last night's loss. As for the Brewers on the mound, they'll give the ball to Junior Guerra tonight, and Guerra did not get a decision in a 6-5 win over San Diego last time out, where he gave up 4 runs, with only 3 of them being earned on 4 hits and 4 walks over 6 innings. So there's a little preview on those 5 plays on today's card. And just to recap, we have Reds plus 113, Royals plus 128. Those first 2 plays, again, like I said before, are an early start. So if you don't place your bets until late afternoon, you'll want to get them in earlier than usual. And then our last 3 plays are going to be in the nightcap like usual. We will have Braves plus 109, Rangers minus 103, and Pirates plus 115. And now for that new segment idea that I touched on earlier in the preview. Also, I've been discussing on Twitter with many of you guys last night and early this morning as I am reaching out for help because I'm going to need some help if this is going to be successful. But I do have this idea that I would like to start on July 1st. This will give us time for you guys to send in the stories so I can listen to them, time them out, and I can fit them into a podcast where timing is right, so I don't have a really long podcast or a short one. And again, the goal here with this segment, I really don't have a name for it yet, but the goal is to have you guys submit your stories, and I play one each day, so I'm not going to have 2 or 3 go a day. I'm just only going to have one. And this segment, it's kind of similar to Bad Beats on ESPN if you've ever seen or heard of it. If not, feel free to YouTube it and you'll get a good refresh course on it. Not sure if they do that every night or occasionally, as I don't really watch ESPN that much other than games. But the goal here of this segment is to really have bettors submit their story and tell their story of how they've had a bet end in a crazy way that still haunts them to this day. Like it was a guaranteed bet and just something crazy happened that you just haven't been able to get over. Or in a positive note, you honestly had a bullshit bet where you should have lost and some crazy play happened that you still to this day have no idea how it covered and you know very well you should have lost. Obviously, if you're a sports bettor, chances are you've had a couple of these go in both your direction, and with the luck everyone has, it's probably going to be most of the time bets that haunt you. Again, I've been reaching out to people on Twitter guys that have been tailing me that I've been talking to, and I've reached out to a couple cappers on Twitter, getting their feedback, and it seems like for the most part the general consensus last night is this is a great idea and people are loving it. Now it's just a matter of getting people to submit their stories, because this is a great segment, I think, if we can get people on board and people participating. And it's always refreshing to hear other guys have the crazy stories that I do as well, so I know I'm not the only one getting the tough breaks. I know one positive story I have, oh gosh, I have many that haunt me. I won't get into further detail as I'll save them for the segment, but one that just will never leave my mind is a play I had that won me on a 12-team parlay in college football. I believe it was 12 or 11 team parlay I had this fall that cashed out huge for me, and it was a complete bullshit play. I already know it should have been a push, but somehow it turned into a victory. Again, I am looking for some help here. If you know anyone who's got a story or would have some fantastic beats or anything like that, feel free to DM me on Twitter at JC_cappers, or again, you can email it to me at jccapperpicks@gmail.com. So if you do have a story and you'd like to submit it, I would like you to record yourself saying it, telling the story and such, and feel free to be descriptive as much as you want and whatnot. And it doesn't have to be anything recent. It can be a few years back, what have you. So it doesn't have to be something that happened this season or whatever. And I'd like you to record yourself saying that and then email it my way so I can get that going and fit it into a podcast. And for those of you who may not want to record yourself, don't want to, or just don't feel comfortable talking, feel free to email me the story with kind of a script there, and I will gladly read that aloud for you, and I'll reference that story to you. Again, the more stories, the better this segment will be, so this could be something to look forward to for the podcast in the coming future. Again, it's a work in progress here, so it won't be debuting for another 10 days or so. As of now that I'm recording this, I believe I do have 16 confirmed people who will be sharing stories. Again, I would love to get near that 30 mark so I can at least have a month there where we can have some good stories there and have the segment going. But anything's better than none, right? So that's what we have going for us right now. Again, if you have any questions on this segment, feel free to ask at any point. I know I've had a couple guys a little confused on the point of it and such, but I believe we got that covered, and they're actually submitting a story now as well. Would love to have you on board, but if not, that's okay too, and you can just enjoy listening to other stories. So that is where we are at on this new segment idea. Again, if you could share this with as many sports bettors and people that you know, that would be great, as the more the people know, the more stories we can get, and the better this segment overall will be. And the more stories we can have, the more people will enjoy this segment. Again, I've gotten great feedback so far in the short amount of time I've been putting feelers out about this. So I have great and high expectations for this. I would like to thank everyone for listening and appreciate your guys' support, as this is a wrap on Dog Days Episode 3 with JC Cappers. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions on podcasts, betting, anything, what have you, you can always reach me on email, jccapperpicks@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can always DM me or give me a follow and such at JC_cappers. Or if you are on Captain, at JC-cappers. If you guys are tailing my picks or even fading my picks, I wish you the best of luck today. Go take that money from those sports books. But remember, it's always a good day when you're running with the dog.